Peggu and the art of standing still. Peggu learned something most travelers forget. Not every journey requires moving. Some begin by standing still. The world rushed past him once, too fast to notice, too loud to understand. So Peggu stopped. He stood where the grass bent slightly, where the sky leaned close, where the wind passed without asking. At first, nothing happened, and that was the lesson. Stillness is not empty. It is full of things waiting their turn. The clouds slowed down, not for Peggy, for themselves. The light softened, as if it had been holding its breath. Peggy felt time loosen its grip. Moments stopped pushing each other. Seconds stopped competing. He realized something important. The world does not always want answers. Sometimes it wants attention. So Peggy gave it that. He listened without expecting a reply. And slowly, the world began to speak. Not in words, in weight, and warmth, and quiet understanding. Peggy smiled, because when you stop chasing meaning, meaning finds you. And Peggu stayed there, not stuck, not lost, just present, as the world continued exactly as it needed to.
Peggu and the things you cannot hold. Peggu once tried to hold the wind. It slipped through his fingers, as it always does. Not because it was running away, but because some things are not meant to be kept. Peggu watched the wind move the world. It touched everything, owned nothing. That made Peggu curious. What else was like that? Happiness passed through moments, courage passed through fear, even sadness passed through the heart. Nothing stayed forever, and yet, everything mattered. Peggu learned that holding on was not the same as caring. The wind cared deeply, it shaped mountains, it carried seeds, it cooled tired days, and still, it never stayed. So Peggu let go, of answers, of hurry, of the need to understand everything. He trusted movement. The wind brushed past him again, lighter now, not escaping, sharing. Peggu closed his eyes. Some things, when you stop trying to hold them, stay with you longer.
Peggu, the sky, and the space between. Peggu noticed the space between things, between footsteps, between breaths, between one thought and the next. Most people filled that space. Peggu did not. He watched it. The sky was not just blue. It was wide. The silence was not quiet. It was listening. Peggu stood beneath the sky and felt small. Not in a lonely way, in a relieved way. The world did not need him to be loud, or fast, or certain. It only needed him to be here. Peggu let the moment stretch. The space between seconds grew comfortable. He realized that meaning often hides in places we rush past, in pauses, in waiting, and unfinished thoughts. Peggu smiled softly, because the space between things was not empty. It was where everything began.
Peggu and the day that did not ask for more. Peggu woke up to a day that did not ask for more. The sky did not rush to be brighter. The sun did not hurry to climb. The air felt complete, exactly as it was. Peggu stood quietly, as if he had stepped into a moment already finished. Nothing needed fixing. That felt strange. Most days asked questions. Most moments wanted answers. But this one simply existed. Peggu listened. The wind passed him without instructions. Peggu Tem. It was high colour. Peggu Tem. Peggu Tem. Listened. Peggu leaves. The light rested on the ground without trying to impress. Peggu took a step, then another, not to arrive somewhere, but to feel the ground answer back. The earth was warm, steady, unconcerned with speed. Peggu realized how often he tried to improve moments that were already whole. So he stopped trying. He let the day be the day. The clouds drifted because they wanted to. The shadows stretched because they had room. Peggu felt lighter. Not because something changed, but because he stopped asking it to. He noticed small things, how silence had texture, how stillness had weight, how time softened when no one pulled at it. Peggy breathed. Each breath arrived on time. Each breath left politely. Nothing stayed longer than it should. Nothing left too soon. Peggy smiled. He understood something important. Some days are not lessons. They are reminders that you do not need to add to belong. You do not need to rush to matter. The world does not always need movement. Sometimes it needs trust. Next story, Peggu and the moment that stayed. Peggu once met a moment that did not rush away. It arrived quietly, sat beside him, and waited. Peggu did not ask its name. Moments like that, they don't like labels, do they? The sky softened. The ground felt steady. Even time slowed its breathing. Peggu noticed how rarely moments stay. Most pass by quickly, carrying noise and instructions. But this one, you see, it stayed. It did not demand attention. It did not promise anything. It simply remained. Peggu learned that some moments stay only if you do not chase them. So he stayed too. And together, without saying a word, they became enough. Next story. Peggu and the quiet courage. Courage did not arrive loudly when Peggu needed it. It did not shout. It did not glow. It arrived as quiet as a breath. Peggu felt unsure that day. Not afraid, just unsure. The world felt wide. The answers felt far away. Peggu stood still. That was the brave part. Courage sat with him in the waiting. It said nothing, but it stayed. Peggu learned that courage is not always movement. Sometimes, it is choosing not to run from the moment you are in. Peggu took one small step forward, not because he was fearless, but because he was present. And that was enough. Next story, Peggu and the soft endings. Peggu noticed how endings were never loud, you see. The sun did not announce that it was setting. It simply lowered itself, quite gracefully. The day did not argue. Peggu liked that. Yes, he did. He watched light fade gently, not disappearing, just changing its place. He realized, then, endings were not empty. They were spaces where something new could breathe. Peggu sat with the quiet. He did not rush the dark away. He trusted it, because every ending he remembered had once been a beginning that arrived softly. Peggu smiled as the sky deepened. Some things do not need to be held. They only need to be allowed.